Hello gorgeous people and happy new year. Today I am gonna talk to you about my 2025 reading goals. I don't have very many, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't, but I do have significant ones, if that makes sense. First things first, this year, well, 2024, I wanted to read 85 books and I read 219. As of filming this is still the last week of this year, so maybe a little bit more by the time this comes out. And despite reading that many books, this year for 2025, my goal is 100. I might even lessen that to like 90 or 95 or something, because whilst I know that I could reach that easily, I'll give an example. Like my movie goal a few years ago was like 300 and I watched 400, and then the next year I watched 100. So it really is about time, and loads of different factors come into things like this for me, and I think in general. So yeah, I would say 100 is like the highest ballpark for me. And I know that seems like a lot, and like loads of people are baffled when I tell them I've read that many, but it really is like literally part of my job at this point. So that's my target goal for reading, and that includes physical, ebook, audiobook, everything. Then I'm going to only mood read throughout the year. This year like have learned that I'm a mood reader, and I can shift between types of books very quickly because of that. So if I'm halfway through one book, I can read another book because I'm no longer in the mood for that book. I can only do like a couple at a time, but I'm really good with my attention like that. But I think that because of that is why I was able to read so much. So I'm going to stick to that, because also I just enjoyed reading 10 times much because of the way that I was mood reading. So yeah, I think that's like a solid thing that I learned last year about myself and my reading habits and how I want to move forward with my reading. Then I want to, this one sounds so stupid, but I want to accept and request less books. I have about 400 to 300 books over there that I'm looking at, and most of them were gifted to me free from publishers, authors, and whilst I won't stop that completely because I'm so grateful and that's such an awesome part of my online presence and that being my job, I want to start being picky, because when it started I just said yes to anything and everything because I was like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, and now it's lasted a year and I truly have more books than I can even comprehend. There's no space for them in my room. So I want to start being a bit more picky, and things like NetGalley and other websites and apps and stuff where you can get free books on request. Yeah, just requesting less. I've like already cut down the amount that I've requested for next year, because this year I just like literally requested anything and everything that was on the site and got a lot of them, and I've only read like 40% of them, which is stressful because you're on a deadline because they run out after a certain amount of days. So yeah, that aspect I don't like. I don't want the stress of it, but again it does kind of make me read faster. But anyways, I've really come to understand my taste and what I enjoy reading, and now that I've gotten to that point, I can also understand what's worth saying yes to and what's worth saying no to, and I don't have to try as many genres or I don't know, types of books anymore the way that I was, which is great, and again, massive privilege. But I'm also looking forward to being picky and really getting my hands on books that I actually want, instead of just trying them out and saying yes because I'm in a position that I'm very lucky to be in. So using that privilege to, I don't know how to word this, using that privilege to do the right thing for myself, I guess, and also for the authors and publishers, because they're wasting copies and possibly getting a bad review from someone who won't enjoy it. Do you know, it's kind of it just makes more sense, basically. Finally, this one I've thought about for a while, but I'm only gonna buy secondhand books. Now, the reason I say this, because I think for some reason this is like super controversial, which I understand but I also don't, but I do. Because as an author, I'm like, I want people to, especially self-published, to buy my book so that I can get paid for my art and treated fairly and get the royalties and commission that I deserve from that, right? But then I think about all these like massive chain bookstores or Amazon, and I'm just like, my money isn't really going where I want it to go. And if you're new here, I love charity shopping, secondhand shopping in general, so clothes, big time, 90% are secondhand. And I find gems when I go charity shopping, for, like, book-wise. The amount of books I found that I'm just like, how on earth? I found a 𝙂𝙧𝙧𝙀. How? That's crazy. That's just nuts to me. But and also, like, in those scenarios, because they're like charity shops, you know that your money is going to charity. And it's also cheaper, which is big for me and big for most people, and I feel like it's less of like I don't want to say impulse buy because I don't think that's the right wording, but it's just more of like a smart financial decision, I guess. So I think like my rule in my head is to only buy secondhand, even if that's online, because there are websites that exist, like World of Books, which is just like all secondhand books, where I get a lot of my books from already. But I think it doesn't really apply to like self-published small authors. Like, realistically, if I get a secondhand Olivia Blake or a secondhand Christina Lauren, those pennies aren't going to mean shit to those people. They're just not. Also, I don't read a lot of new work. A lot of time new books are sent to me. I don't actively seek new books out. I prefer old books, old literature. I just in general prefer it. So a lot of the authors that I would buy from don't exist anymore. They're not alive. So it's easier in that sense to make that decision to buy secondhand. But yeah, I think it's important for the world, sustainably, finances for myself, knowing where my money goes, and also again making those choices of, okay, what do I actually enjoy reading? Because, like, for example, I found Alan Hollinghurst, Rachel Cusk books, like older literature that I would genuinely pick up and read in all of these second-hand charity shops, and it just feels like a better decision to do that than buy them new, especially for authors who have passed. So yeah, I think that's all of my top kind of reading goals for 2025. I don't like to limit my goals too much, you know, like read less of this, read more of that, read this many a month. I hate that shit because it just drives me fucking nuts. But yeah, I think those are my top goals, and I know that I can do it because I've already implemented most of these, I mean all of these realistically, into the second half of this year, 2024. And so this feels super possible, and that's exciting for me because that gives me a sense of like, this will all be achieved. These aren't just goals, they are like boxes that will be ticked by the end of 2025. So yeah, that's all of my reading goals for this year. Let me know what you guys are hopefully going to achieve this year with your reading, and in general what goals you have. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.